Since 2010, the Xenoblade Chronicles series has since become one of the most celebrated RPG franchises, blending elements of fantasy and science fiction with thought-provoking themes about existence, time, and identity. Each installment from the original now to Xenoblade Chronicles 3 offers unique gameplay experiences, memorable characters, and expansive worlds that are going to suck you in straight away. So in today's video, we're going to be ranking Xenoblade Chronicles 1 through 3 and Xenoblade Chronicles X from my least favorite to my most favorite game. There's some twists and turns and some surprises here, so I hope you follow along and enjoy the ride. Now, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the list. Which way would you rank these games? I know there's only 4 of them, but there is so much content within these games. So let's get started. This probably isn't going to come at much of a surprise, but there are probably like maybe 1% of the fan base out there that really truly love this game more than anything else, and that's Xenoblade Chronicles X. Yes, Xenoblade Chronicles X, released in 2015 for the Wii U, is set on the alien planet Mira, where humanity has taken refuge after the Earth's destruction in an intergalactic war. Here, instead of a main character, you take on the role of a customizable avatar, a survivor from New Los Angeles, a city now relocated to this mysterious planet. Now, the main objective here is to explore the massive and varied open world, gather resources, fight hostile alien species, and search for the Lifehold core, a key structure housing the last of humanity in stasis. The gameplay here is the focus of the game. We're going to get to the story a little bit here soon, but this is focusing on vast, seamless worlds made up of a few continents, each with unique ecosystems and creatures. Now, one of the unique and standout features here is the use of scale, large mechs that provide enhanced combat abilities, faster travel, which is going to help you navigate this world, which is huge. It's a bigger world than Breath of the Wild, believe it or not. Now, like I said, gameplay here, this is a really great game if you enjoy the combat of Xenoblade Chronicles as a series. Now, unlike some of the other games, Xenoblade Chronicles X does not have a party gauge or a chain attack system, which are more core mechanics in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2. So this means that there's no way to initiate powerful team-based attacks or revive fallen teammates using a party gauge. This is less reliant on, big finishing moves like we have in some of the other games, which I do enjoy. So it's not necessarily a stripped down version of the combat in the other games, but it's maybe more streamlined, I guess. However, Xenoblade Chronicles X does feature a flexible class system where you can switch between different classes, each offering different sets of arts and combat abilities. Now, this is a lot more customizable than some of the other roles or stuff that you have in some of the other games, aside from 3 maybe, where the character's combat roles tend to be more fixed. Now, like I mentioned with the story, there is a story, but it's not as super heavy. It's a more gameplay focused game, which is okay, but this is why I'm ranking this one number 4, because there's not much focus on the story. Of course, you're free to explore and uncover the world's secrets at your own pace. At one point there was online multiplayer. I don't know if it still works. Now with the Wii U's servers more or less being down, but the story here never really grabbed me, and I really struggle with open world RPGs unless there's a real focus on the story, and I just didn't find it there. I ended up having to look up some of the story elements on YouTube, and it seems interesting, but my rule, as you guys know if you watch my channel, it's 10 hours or less, and if I can't get into it, I just can't get into it. There wasn't enough of a story hook there, so the gameplay is a real focus with Xenoblade Chronicles X. But I do have to say, I really respect this game for running as well as it does on the Wii U. It's absolutely insanity. Like Breath of the Wild, there is nothing off limits. You can go wherever you want to go. There is no pop-in or loading screens at all. So definitely play this game if you like open world RPG gameplay with a Xenoblade twist. Okay, next up, I talked about this one a little bit in my video last week, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. And if you have, you probably know what I'm going to say, and it's going to be Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Yes, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the game a lot of people love to hate. And you know what? It's not a game that I hate or really dislike. It's a game that I just never have connected with, and for a few key reasons, which we'll get to here soon. But in summary, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is set in the world of All Rest, where civilizations live on the backs of massive creatures called Titans. I really love that premise. It's very cool and very sci-fi. Here the story follows Rex, a young salvager, and later on Pyra, a powerful blade, and together they embark on a journey to reach Elysium, a fabled paradise, while being pursued by enemies who seek Pyra's immense power. Now, if you've played Xenoblade Chronicles 2 or you've read anything online about any feedback from this game, you'll know that this battle system was the most divisive thing within the game for a few reasons here. A lot of people found it complex with a steep learning curve that took hours to fully unlock, meaning the early hours of the game felt really slow. The heavy reliance on auto attacks and waiting for abilities to charge made combat feel a little bit passive, and the interface could be kind of clunky, leading to confusion. And additionally, some of the party AI mechanics are a bit unreliable. It was just really hard for me to get into the combat of this game. I know for some of you, if it clicks and then you really love it, but yeah, it never fully clicked with me. And this is somebody who played up to 20 hours of this game, and then I eventually had to dip out. And for another reason why I walked away from this game was some of the field mechanics, essentially soft locking you out of certain areas unless you had to level up your blade to a certain point where you could get through roadblocks or obstacles along the way. I really just felt that was unnecessarily grindy, having to level up your blades through these weird side quests, which were just very tedious. I don't know. I never fully progressed with the story because of this. And yeah, I never fully got into the story. I later did spoil it for myself, but yeah, it just never clicked with me. But later on, for those who did enjoy this game, it was expanded with Torna, the Golden Country DLC, which is a prequel and adds a lot more depth to the overarching narrative of the game. And if you did connect with it, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is really great for its story overall and its grand sense of scale, but it just never connected with me. Now, before we find out what the top 2 are going to be, I would love for you guys to make sure you just subscribe to this channel. Almost 90% of the people that watch here on the regular are not subscribed, which is a huge number. So I would love to have you here week in and week out as we deep dive and rank some JRPGs that we all know and love. Anyway, on to number 2. This one might surprise some of you guys. Okay, number 2 is going to be Xenoblade Chronicles, or Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, or the one enhanced for the new 3DS. Whatever one you played, this is number 2. Xenoblade Chronicles 1, this is where it all started, and this is a game that made me fall in love with this style of game. So this was originally released for the Nintendo Wii back in 2010 and set in the world built on the bodies of 2 colossal titans, the Bionis and the Mechonis. The game follows Shulk, a young man who discovers the Monado, a powerful sword capable of fighting mechanical enemies known as the Mechon. Shulk embarks on a quest for revenge against the mechanical enemies, but soon his journey expands into a grander conflict involving the fates of both Titans and their inhabitants. Xenoblade Chronicles was a game that really set the precedent here for the series with its vast open environments, allowing you to freely explore various regions of the Bionis and the Mechonis, blending real-time combat with tactical elements, of course, where players can auto-attack and players select arts, special abilities with different effects. This combat system is going to encourage a lot of positioning, as certain arts are more effective depending on where you are in relation to the enemy. Shulk also has the Future Sight ability, which allows him to see glimpses of the future through the Monado. This adds a unique layer to the battles, allowing you to prevent certain deadly attacks before they happen. It's all tied into the story, which is one of my favorite parts of this game. So yeah, we had Xenoblade Chronicles X, which didn't really have much of a story at all. X2, which had a decent story, but I could never connect with. But Xenoblade Chronicles, man, this is where it really started, and I just love what happened here. This is such an emotionally deep story, so many great characters, and in the end, there's a lot of really interesting philosophical themes. And like I said before, this was originally released on the Wii, but later in 2020, we got the definitive edition for the Nintendo Switch, which is going to be the best way to play it. I tried to play it on the 3DS when that came out, and that was kind of tough to play, and it was like an even more watered down version of the Wii version, so it didn't really look great. But yeah, the definitive edition here was some updated stuff, updated quality of life stuff, and even the the soundtrack as well. It's beautiful, and that also came with Future Connected, the DLC, which takes place after the events of the main game, focusing on Shulk and Melia as they embark on a new adventure. And this is set in a previously unexplored area known as the Bionis' Shoulder, and the story follows their quest to uncover the truth behind the disappearance of the Homs and explore the lingering effects of the events from the main game. It's not as big of a deal as, for example, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 DLC is, because the Future Connected doesn't really add a whole lot. It's just great to be able to see what happens after the main story and just kind of continue Shulk and Melia's quest here, just exploring some new areas. It's fun, but it doesn't last very long. But overall, Xenoblade Chronicles really hit it on the head for me. I loved the story of the game. I love the voice acting in this game as well. I feel like this really set a precedent for English voice acting that wasn't cheesy in some of these RPGs. And I really love the combat. This is just a 100% total complete package for me, and this is a really great game, and I highly recommend people play Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition on Switch if you haven't already. And of course, coming in at number 1, we have Xenoblade Chronicles 3, the most recent entry in the series. Wow, what a game. I loved it. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, yes, the most recent entry in the series, and some of you guys might not actually agree with my placement here. I'm sure some of you might actually say 2 is number 1 or 1 is number 1, but Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I'd be interested. Do you guys agree with me here for my take for number 3? But I love this game for a number of reasons. So Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is set in the world of Ionios, where it explores the conflict between 2 warring nations. We have the Kevis and the Agnes. The story follows 6 characters, 3 from each nation, who unite after uncovering a shared goal that transcends their initial rivalry. And together they embark on a journey to uncover the truth behind the warring nations and the mysterious forces controlling their world. Very interesting. Now, the combat of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 builds on the real-time mechanics of previous titles, but also adds new features such as the interlink system, where pairs of characters can merge into powerful forms called the Ouroboros for enhanced abilities. So if you like some of those callbacks to the older Xeno games, not necessarily Xenoblade, but like Xenosaga and Xenogears, which was one of my favorite games, which I honestly really love that game. Play that if you haven't. I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 really borrowed from the overall mythos of Xenogears in a lot of ways. And in the battle system, we have it here, and I loved it. It was really cool. Now, it carried over a lot of stuff from Xenoblade Chronicles 1, retaining the use of arts, positioning, and combo mechanics, but now it allowed for more fluid team-based strategies by letting players switch between all 6 party members in battle. And of course, you can switch between different Ouroboros forms depending on who you're playing as or what characters you have at your party at any time. There's a lot of variety here with what you can or can't do. Now, the story overall was the heaviest hitting story in the series for me. There's so many mature themes here, focusing on existential questions about life, time, identity. It's very, very heavy. There's so many times throughout this story where I found myself bawling. Of course, there's a specific chapter. If you guys have played it, you know exactly what it is and what happens. Oh my gosh, I get chills thinking about it. But with the voice acting here in this entire series, but 3 specifically, the voice acting was just out of this world. And that really allowed me to bond with these characters in this game. So much so that I just could not wait for the future Redeemed DLC to finally come out, which is a substantial expansion to the main game taking place before the events of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now, interestingly enough, this is a new story that bridges the narrative between the 3 previous games in the series, featuring Shulk coming back from Xenoblade Chronicles 1, and an older version of Rex from Chronicles 2, which I really enjoyed that as well. And in Future Redeemed, you're going to explore the world with new locations, quests, some gameplay mechanics, and it's just going to build on that overall experience that you had with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. From memory, I think it was like a 15-hour experience that just really tied together that trilogy of games so well, and it got me very interested in Xenosaga as well. That's all I'm going to say here, but if you are fans of the overall Xeno series, yes, there's a couple callbacks there which were very interesting. And it's very deep in terms of story, and I don't want to give anything away, but there's just themes of fate, identity, the consequence of war, all that good stuff that's going to provide you with a rich narrative that, yeah, it's going to resonate with you even now, almost 2 years after that DLC. It was very substantial DLC and the best of the series in my opinion. So Xenoblade Chronicles 3 as a complete package with the Future Redeemed DLC is one of the biggest games that I've played, but one of the most emotional stories and great battle systems that I've engaged with as well. So clear number 1 for me. I love Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So that's my list, and I'm sticking to it. Let me know down below in the comments your list if you were to rank them, and let me know some of your favorite moments as well from each of these games. I do love all of these games in their own way. Of course, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is my clear-cut winner. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again on the next video. Bye-bye.